So, I have a really sweet mother-in-law, husband's mom, and we get along most of the time. However, when she visits our home, I notice that she goes through my drawers in the bedroom looking for a charger or something. I find it a bit invasive and embarrassing, especially when she opens the wrong drawer that would have personal items in it, like lingerie, and then complains about how uncomfortable it is for her every single time. We've gone back and forth on this, and when I stated that she was wrong for even looking at personal stuff, she said she got confused and didn't know what drawer had the item she looked for. Dear husband suggested I should just bring her whatever she needs, instead of having to go inside and look for herself, but she never asks. So I decided to label my drawers, meaning I put a sign on every drawer to eliminate dear mother-in-law's confusion. For example, I put a socks sign on the sock drawer, then a lingerie sign on the lingerie and underwear drawer, electronics, makeup drawer, etc. You get the idea. So the next time mother-in-law visited, she walked into the bedroom looking for something while I was in the kitchen, cooking. Minutes later, she came in with my husband asking about the signs I had on each drawer. I told her I just labelled each drawer to end her confusion and help her find what she was looking for quickly. She looked offended and said that she was neither a small child nor stupid to be treated like this. I said I was trying to help and prevent her from seeing stuff that upset her in the past. She got madder and kept arguing, then left to stay at my brother-in-law's house. Brother-in-law called and berated both my husband and me, and then my husband lashed out, saying I caused this mess and I needed to apologise. I might be the idiot for the method I used, since it made mother-in-law offended and made her think that I see her as dumb, and so that's why I put labels on drawers. Not the idiot. She feigned confusion to excuse her snooping. You believed and accommodated her. She's mad you believed her lies and took her excuse away. Now she's turned herself into the victim by saying you did that to insult her intelligence. Your mother-in-law is a great manipulator. This is next-level gaslighting. So this woman has zero boundaries and rummages through your personal items regularly, then gets upset when she sees something that should be there. Then she overreacts and gets offended when you treat her like a child, even though she's behaved like one on numerous occasions in your house. She follows that up with this chaser. Let's talk smack about OP and get everyone angry at her. There is no way you're the idiot, but that doesn't really cover it adequately. There's so much wrong with this. I think you might need a reality check. This family is sick. Your mother-in-law is not sweet. She's invasive, rude, and deliberately causing issues. If she needs a charger, she'll just need to wait until you or your husband have a free minute to get her one, or she can just keep using her own in her handbag. It's time to ban mother-in-law from going into your home. I'm trying to remember the last time when even my own mum or sisters went into any of my personal drawers or cupboards at my house, and I cannot think of or remember a time. Hopefully your husband gets his head out of his butt and realizes that his mother is literally offended over you labeling your own drawers. If she didn't want to be able to snoop, why would that bother her? OP, your husband is the main issue. If he doesn't see a problem with his mom invading your privacy and refuses to put her in a place, this problem won't go away. And how many times do you have to go snoop through someone's personal drawers? What exactly are you looking for? Like Xanax or a roll of Hundies or something? Underwear is where it was the last time you looked in the bedroom for a screwdriver. I'd never heard of such invasiveness until I started reading these stories. People are so weird. I had a horrible thought that she's not just snooping, and I'm wondering if OP uses protection, or at least mother-in-law thinks they do and has been looking for them because she wants grandchildren. I know, massive leap, but that's where my brain went. For context, my fiancé and I have been together for 5 years and we have a daughter, toddler. I separated from my ex-girlfriend 6 years ago. She has a son, young teen. When my ex and I first met, I fell pretty hard for her, although she was in recovery then and her son was 5. When he was born, my ex's mother took full custody of him. I helped my ex regain her family's trust and encouraged her to be present in her son's life. Her mother loved this, and soon we shared custody with the boy. Eventually, my ex relapsed. Her mom and I agreed she shouldn't be around him. I tried my damned hardest to get her into rehab, but she began pulling me down and I couldn't handle her anymore. She ended up back on the streets, but I stayed heavily involved in the boy's life. After my daughter was born, my relationship with him steadily faded. His grandmother passed away, her sister took him in. The last time I spoke to him was on his birthday over a year ago. On the first of the month, he showed up at our doorstep late at night, sobbing that his mother was about to die. I called his grandaunt and got permission to take him to his mother in the hospital. She was in bad shape, so I stood by his side. I told him whenever he wanted to see her, call me and I'll take him. My fiancée had planned an early brunch with her family. We were eating out when the boy came up in conversation. I told everyone my plan to take the boy shopping after brunch so he could bring his mom something when we visit her later. That's when things quickly changed. My fiancée was livid that I would be going to spend the day with that junkie. I reminded her that we spoke about this the previous night, but she denied me ever telling her. Her parents then chime in. Her dad said, "Why don't you just admit it already that you got that witch pregnant and the boy is yours? He's not mine." Then her mother wants to know why I'm so involved. Because I feel bad for the young teen who shouldn't have to deal with this alone. My fiancée accuses of wanting to get back with her. Absolutely not. She says, "Then why did you ever get involved?" Basically, the entire time was spent interrogating me. They also accuse me of being on sugar myself. I've never touched anything in my life. Finally, my fiancé says I'll be an idiot just like my ex if I spend the day with her. I didn't see the problem and I failed to understand their reaction. Later, I picked up the boy. I gave him money to go whatever he wanted. He bought her flowers, chocolate and a card. I let him spend as much time as he wanted with her. I got back home, but my fiancé wouldn't speak to me. After work, more silent treatment from her, so I took the boy out to dinner, and now I'm writing this from the hospital's waiting room. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're a great person for helping this boy. They act as if you weren't in his life for so many years. Your SO and her parents sound so heartless. It's not as if you're sitting in her hospital room holding her hand and recounting long-lost love stories. You're taking him to see his mother. Tell your fiancé I said to take a goddamn chill pill and learn how to be a human being. This is a kid, for Christ's sake. Some people suck. OP, you should be prepared that they will never let this go. Even if your fiancé eventually forgives you, spoiler alert, she won't actually, her family will make sure to hold it against you for years. The fact that they immediately called you names and made wild accusations when you didn't do what they wanted speaks volumes. Everyone's the idiot here. Your fiancé and her family are being incredibly hateful. They should have chosen their words differently. But also, it was a planned day you should be spending with the mother of your child and your child. Imagine if you'd planned a nice party, then your fiancé said, "Actually, babe, I'm going to see my ex." I understand that the circumstances are tough, and I think that it's lovely you're helping the son out, but you should have talked it over with your fiancé first to discuss boundaries. Couldn't his aunt or grandma take him? How's the grandmother supposed to take him to see his mother? Grandmother died. OP, do you want to marry someone and be part of her family who would talk this way about you, your ex, and this poor kid who's in a terrible situation through no fault of his own? This is your fiancée showing you who she is and her parents. This would be your future. I'm sorry to say they'll never respect you because they can't imagine being as kind as you are. You don't need their respect, and frankly, they don't deserve yours at all. I, 21 male, am staying with my sister, 25 female, for the summer. I didn't want to, however my parents are moving out of state and I didn't want to drive 16 hours to their place. Easier to drive 2 hours to my sister's. The agreement was that I'd pay her rent and clean up after myself, and that was all. She's a single mother. She had a young kid and she doesn't know who the dad is. I'll be completely honest, she's a bit loose. I've only been here a week and 4 different guys have come over to spend the night. I'm not a parent, but I'm pretty sure it's not great for a 6-year-old kid to see a conveyor belt of different men come in late and leave in the morning. So she told me that she's planning a girls' trip to Miami soon. She said that since I'm here I can watch my nephew. I told her I wasn't sure about that, as I didn't want to. I told her that she could just take him with her, and she said that she didn't want to take him into that environment. So I took this as she will go party and mess around in Miami. I told her I didn't want to watch the kid. She then told me that it'd just be for a week and that she had wanted this trip for a while and I was being a bad brother. I told her that it was not my responsibility to watch her kid so that she could slut around Miami with her friends. We had a huge argument about it. She said I was being an idiot, and now we're not talking. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. She's offered you a place to live for the time being, and you have no right to tell her how to live her life, or call her names. She's still thinking of her son, at least by leaving him behind. but you clearly hate what she does, and instead of keeping it to yourself and using the excuse you pay all the rent, you lashed out. You are the idiot. Who cares if she's sleeping around? She's single. She can do what she wants. You disagree with your sister's life choices, not that the amount of people she sleeps with is any of your business. And calling her loose? Really? You're a massive idiot for the way that you talk about her. Are you serious? She has a child and has to acknowledge that. There are things she won't get to do because of that, and she's a bad mother if she refuses to accept that. Also, having someone watch a 6-year-old for a whole week that doesn't have a kid or know anything about them? Like, what? More bad parenting. My God, people bending over backward to cosplay some weird parody of tolerance at the expense of a child's well-being is par for the course. Your sister isn't a responsible parent and needs to get her crap together. And you babysitting for a bit doesn't further that goal at all. Yeah, there's a child that doesn't and may likely never know who their father is because of mom's behavior. So yeah, go right ahead and shame that behavior. We have to pretend it's okay for some reason, but just because people can do what they want doesn't mean it can't be a problem. I'm sure all these men she brings home could pay for a hotel or bring her to their places instead of potentially traumatizing a 6-year-old on a near daily basis. She doesn't prioritize her own child. OP is also not obligated to watch this kid if he pays rent, and there were no agreements beforehand. You're a paying tenant, not a free childcare service. While it's great that she would not be subjecting the kid to this behavior for a week, maybe she could spend time being an actual mother to her son instead. There's a community centre hall in my neighbourhood run by the HOA that residents can rent, which my wife and I rented last Saturday for a party. I have a big family with many aunts and uncles with kids, so it made sense to rent the hall since we like to do these big get-togethers sometimes. The hall is about a quarter of a mile from my house, or maybe a little less. I, 33 male, brought my 65-inch TV to the hall and set it up on a table to display a slideshow of all the moms and their kids, which ran throughout the party. I drove it over in my SUV. Our event went pretty well. Most people left around 8 p.m. A few of my cousins and I stayed behind until 9 p.m. to clean up before going home. I didn't want to pack the TV back into my car since it was precarious and almost tipped over when I brought it to the hall, so I decided to carry it home. As I walked back, I heard a "hey" from the door, and I saw one of my neighbours. She looked to be in her 50s. I briefly paused and looked at her with the TV held above my head and just said, "Hi," back to her. She asked, "Who does that TV belong to?" I was tired from hosting a party all day, and even more tired from walking a quarter mile while holding a TV. I was really not in the mood to keep talking to this lady, so I didn't respond to her and kept walking home. I could hear her shouting at me and saying she would call the police. I ignored all of it the entire walk back. I got home and put the TV down. I got changed and had some water before telling my wife what had just happened. My wife told me I was being an idiot, paraphrasing, because I could have just humoured the lady for 1 second and that I probably looked more suspicious than I realised. I'm a dark-skinned guy in a not-so-dark-skinned neighbourhood, and I'm probably the youngest homeowner on the block by at least 10 years, and it was dark outside. She thinks we're likely to have to deal with that neighbour again in the future. I got into a bit of an argument with my wife about this because I don't think I owed that lady any explanation, and my wife says I should have just preserved the peace. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Screw all of that racist, classist nonsense right in its ugly face. You did not owe that neighbour an explanation. And how stupid does someone have to be to think that you're carrying a 65-inch TV that you stole around? What circumstance do they imagine happened leading up to that if this was the case? Also, what kind of burglar says, "Hi," back when taking a TV? Who even robs a TV? Surely you'd want to pick up some smaller valuable things, e.g. jewellery and phones instead. Who would rob a TV when it's going to limit speed when getting away? Absolute amateur neighbour. If you're going to steal big items, bring a van or truck and remove the number plate. That situation is ridiculous. Like, imagine if it weren't yours. Did she expect you to be like, "Well, it sure isn't mine, you got me"? Obviously her question is useless. She's just harassing you in your own neighbourhood. And what was her game plan? Was she going to come wrestle you for it? Is she going to call the cops because a person is moving a TV? Was she not going to call the cops if you just said, "Yeah, it's totally mine"? I don't know when people will understand that you're not obligated to explain anything to them. She's not a police officer, and she's not your mom. And yes, you probably will have run-ins with this person, so make sure you're ready to record at a moment's notice. My husband, 34 male, and I, 33 female, are planning a vacation next summer overseas. We're making plans to move our family to another country and want to visit a few of the countries we've been looking into. Because we'll be visiting multiple countries during this trip, it will be at least 2 weeks, possibly longer. My son will still be a toddler by that time next year. He's always been great at travelling but has yet to be on an aeroplane. However, I do plan to take him on shorter flights before this vacation, so flying won't be a new experience when he has his long flight. I was casually discussing this future vacation with my family over dinner when suddenly my older, 37 brother interrupted and asked why I would bring a toddler on a plane. Before I even get a chance to answer, he starts going on a rant about how children don't belong on flights and that I would be a selfish idiot and ruin everyone's experience. I explained that I wasn't comfortable leaving my young son for weeks at a time and that I also wanted him to get to experience the vacation. He's always loved going on trips and has tolerated new environments exceptionally well, and since this vacation may ultimately help decide where we relocate, it only seems right that he would be there with us. My brother got so upset he left dinner after that. He doesn't handle disagreements well. I understand that children and flights can be a disaster scenario. Still, I think with careful planning and being super attentive, I can minimize the amount of time he will be disruptive on the flight. Travel also makes him super sleepy, and I plan on booking the flight during his normal bedtime, and the kid sleeps like a rock regardless of noise or light, so I think he will probably sleep through most of the flight anyway. Not the idiot, and it's ironic that your brother complains about toddler behavior when acting like a toddler pitching the biggest fit. Every child is different. My daughter sat through my root canal when she was 3 because she was really well behaved and she loved going places. She happily sat in a chair colouring. My son went on a 2-week cross-country road trip with us when he was 2 and never had an issue. I've flown with babies on planes and didn't even realise they were on board until we were leaving the plane. I'm sure your son will do fine. Your brother, on the other hand, your brother is a moron. Nothing else to say. Imagine being so entitled that you feel free to tell people not to travel with their own damn kids. It's always the rude and stupid people who feel free to voice their dumb opinions. Your brother is making a deal about a trip he's not even going to be on. It affects him in absolutely a zero way, yet he's chosen this as a hill to have a battle about. Some people just love drama and conflict, and your brother sounds like one of those people.